there's after meeting grumbling. So this is like the after meeting grumbling. People are still like, those Gentiles need to be circumcised.
Okay, we're into a whole new category of scripture. Hi, everybody. Word Made Fresh, weekly show. Talk about upcoming nerd lectionary passages that are being preached at Riverside and maybe in a pulpit near you. Reverend Jim Keat, Reverend Adriene Thorne. She's the senior minister. She's preaching this Sunday.
Yeah.
And we are in Galatians. We have been in Luke for a whole lot. We did Acts for a little bit. And now we are following this guy, Paul, and he has a letter to a church in Galatia. That's why it's called Galatians. We got, I think, 2 weeks in a row on Galatians, 3, 4. There's a few weeks in
3
Galatians here, I
weeks.
think, coming up.
Yep.
You are starting it off, and you kind of get a little bit of chapter 1 and a little bit of chapter 2. It's got some of those big hits of like, I'm crucified with Christ is in here.
Mhm.
So this is some of those memory verse gold star portions of scripture. Help us just enter into Galatians, these selections from Galatians, and how, if at all, you are already thinking about this sermon.
Yeah. So this letter is happening a few years after the church meeting that we talked about last week.
That's right.
But that issue has continued to be an issue. It's about identity.
Wait, you mean the church meeting doesn't solve the problems? I thought once we vote on it, it never comes up again.
Sometimes if we're lucky, but generally, there's after meeting grumbling. So this is like the after meeting grumbling. People are still like, those Gentiles need to be circumcised. They need to be like us if they're going to be in the church. And so people are being left out, right? I don't want to associate with the folks who aren't circumcised. I want to eat the kosher food and they don't eat kosher food, and on and on and on. And so there's that question about what makes a member, what makes someone belong. How are you in the family? Is it because of who you are, or is it because of what you believe? And of course, Paul is arguing it's what you believe. Do you trust Christ? Do you believe Christ for your faith? And the other part of this that is so super funny to me is that, and this happens in our church meeting too, right? Paul says, no human being told me this, right? It came straight from God. So nobody can tell me that I'm wrong. I'm the one you should be listening to, not any other teachers. And do we ever see that at church? All the time. It just cracked me up.
From both sides of the pulpit, I might add.
Yes,
You hear it from some clergy type and
yes,
preachers, and you hear it from some congregants who just want to,
right,
make their point of view the
right.
only divine
The
interpretation.
divine interpretation straight from God. I just thought that was so super hilarious. How we all try to get the ascendancy by being the most right.
I wonder. I'm just thinking of this for the first time. I wonder if Paul pulls that card out later in any other epistles, or
Hmm.
if it's only in Galatians? I don't know.
Oh, I do.
I just know that Galatians is, the earliest of the epistles
Yeah.
we see. It's
Right.
probably his first that was written, or that and Thessalonians. They're both up there. But it makes me wonder: could that even have been him in like, his fresh out of seminary, I know everything kind of attitude, and maybe that cracked and shifted and changed in him over his aging in life. I would wonder. Again, I need to actually look it up to see if he pulls that card out. But
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes we make that statement in our, immaturity,
right.
our naivete, and we haven't had the
Right.
time to be like, wait a minute, I don't actually know everything.
Right.
And the thing that I thought was just me and God is actually filled with all sorts of unconscious biases.
There you
And
go.
I need
There
to
you go.
check some of that at the door.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think once again, Paul is trying to, and maybe sooner than they're ready to accept it, to your point, and in a very sort of pushy way, get people to hold the belief that he holds. And they're not ready. Um, they're not ready to understand faith the way that he is suggesting it should be understood. Um, and then there's another thing, there's another part to it, I think, that makes this hard. He's attempting also to lay out for people what a gift it is that they've been given this ability for faith. but there's also a demand to it. And it's a orientation of life. So you've been given this gift with the hope, expectation, demand, however you want to phrase that, that you're going to move and act in a different way. And in a way some people might say is foreign to us. I think Paul would say we were built for this. We were built for love. We were built for connection. We were built for all the things that God and Jesus are asking us to do. Um, and so we're being asked to be reoriented, and
Hmm.
and that's hard.
Yeah, people don't want that. We like to be where we are and comfortable where we are. I
Right.
mean, you just mentioned earlier in a minute you're about to go lift some heavy things, do a little strength training.
Yeah.
It's never like the yay, my muscles are going to hurt. We
Uh-huh.
don't ever really enjoy the hurt. We tell ourselves we enjoy it because we know it's beneficial for these other reasons. But do people really want that discomforting or reorientation?
Well, I think what Paul
No.
tries to say, I think you're right. I think we don't. But I think what Paul tries to say in this notion that we're built for it is even though the demand is hard, and even though lifting the heavy weights is hard, what a gift that we can lift the weight. What a gift that we were built for this. What a gift that we are even thinking about it, oriented towards it, grateful for it after the fact. Um, and that's maybe the little pivot that when we think about it, it's like, yeah, yeah, you're right. Because I could be laying here unable to get up and walk. I could be sitting here unable to even contemplate forgiveness or love of neighbor, but it's bothering me that I can't pray for this person, or it's bothering me that I can't be more like Christ. And I think that's the seed or the start of this gift and this demand to,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've heard it in runners, especially in the marathon, when it's really hard, even shifting the mindset from I have to do this to I get to
I
do
get to
this.
do this. I get to do this.
I'm able to do this.
Right,
I can move my body, even though it hurts. The
right,
hurt is a reminder that my body is still present and able to move like this. In whatever capacity,
right,
people are able to do whatever they can do. But it's not, I have to love my neighbor. It's, I get to love my
I
neighbor.
get
It's
to
this
love my
invitation,
neighbor.
and it truly is a gift.
Yeah, and another great metaphor. I mean, I my trainer, she's really wonderful, and we'll do three sets of things. So when we start out the first time, she'll say, "Adrian, are the weights too heavy?" And I'll say, "Well, I can do it. It doesn't feel great." And she's like, "Well, do we need to lower them?" And I'll say, "No," because what I know from dancing and what I've learned lifting these heavy weights is it often feels better as I go. So the first time around, when my muscle is trying to figure out how to adjust itself to do the thing, the second time I'm like, oh, well, if I, like, for example, don't let all the way down, if I don't like just collapse, if I just come down and then push back up, it's not as hard. So you start figuring out physiologically how to make it work. And oftentimes by the third time, I say to her, oh, I can do this. Where the first set, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do three sets of this. So it's interesting in your body, but I also think in our lives to try a thing and to try it again and to try it again. So we had a three times rule in my house when, well, not really a rule, but we would say to my daughter when she was little, she was like, I don't like blueberries. And I was like, okay, but you just had them one time. And it might be a bad batch. Or if it was something cooked, maybe it wasn't prepared well. So, how about we try things three times? And then after three times, if you don't like it, then we can say you really don't like it. So she's like, okay, mom, it's the third time. I really don't like blueberries. And she still does it. But it was such a great practice to give yourself this space. So I think we could, what
Yeah.
about trying that with forgiveness and love and prayer,
Mm.
prayer for the enemy? Because you might be able to figure out a way to be like, oh, maybe I can, since I'm built for it,
Yep.
actually
Yep.
love people, actually welcome these
Ooh.
Gentiles, actually be okay.
Because I'm built for
I'm
it.
built
I just
for
think
it.
that is the invitation. I'm built for welcoming these
Yeah,
people who my culture says to keep at the door. I'm
right,
built for this practice of forgiveness and love, even if it doesn't always feel comfortable or like the thing I want to
right.
wake up and do. I'm built to move my arms and my body and
Yep,
to experience these
yep,
things, even if in the moment I want to just sleep in and binge watch Star Wars or something. No,
Right.
I'm built for this. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what Paul is suggesting. It's like, I know you don't like it. I know these people don't eat the food that you eat, and they, you know, their body parts haven't been altered in the ways that you guys have circumcision. But this thing that you're built for is a gift, and it's a demand. It's an
Yeah.
invitation, and we are made better. The community is made better when we're able to lean into that love and grace of God that makes it possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta just hear though your thoughts on the part of this passage that people have probably definitely memorized in Sunday school, confirmation, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Uh, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me.
Right.
What does that mean? Just help us at least drop that into this conversation, because when if someone reads this, they're like, oh, I know that one, and we might have lots of understandings or preconceived notions behind I've been crucified with Christ. Help us just kind of look at that
Right.
best hit in
So
light of this.
my understanding of it always has been like it's the death of the ego. It's the death of the
Mm,
way I need and want to be. So it's like when you're in church and you're like, well, I think we need to be doing this. And it's like my idea, my ministry, my passion project. But like the church body is saying, we're going to go in this different way because we feel God is calling us here. Can you kill yourself, your ego, your need to be famous or popular or in charge? I mean, I've been in lots of rooms where I thought the lay leaders that I was working with all thought one thing and I thought something else. But how arrogant for me to say I, on my own little one little self, am smarter and wiser than these elders who have decided something else. Um, that's just too arrogant. So can I kill what I thought was the right thing, so that Christ, the Christ in me, the Christ energy, the Christ nature, can rise in me, and I can be like, okay, they didn't think my idea was right, and I'm going to fully support with everything I have what the body has said is the direction we're going in. That's my understanding.
ooh. Ooh, that seems like it lands with this conversation. People who are like saying my way of understanding what it means to be a Christian is the only way. No, no, ego. Let's take that I, that little lowercase I, and that needs to be crucified so that something else can come to life.
That's right.
Oh, there's so much when we just dissect even the language of the
Right.
text and bring in psychological lenses to it all and help us understand it more holistically. All right, so there you go, everybody. If you were reading, you're like, but that portion, now you got at least a way to frame it in light of this. Maybe it'll come up in the sermon. Who knows? I think where you're going is going to be a lot of
I
fun.
think so.
It's a good text for the week after the annual meeting that just happened on Sunday. So it's a nice way to say sometimes the meeting happens, but there's still a bit of residuals that linger,
Oh
and this is
yeah.
definitely an example of
Church
that.
meeting will be lingering all year until the next annual meeting.
Until the next one. Oh, the joy of it all. All right, everybody. Well, you know the drill. Join us on Sunday in any way you can. We have open Bible study at 9:30 in the building and online, two separate spaces, but looking at the exact same text. We'll explore this a bit more detailed in depth there. Worship starts at 11, special music at 10:30. You can hear the carol on the organ. And then we'll dive into all of this. You'll hear the sermon. We'll have virtual coffee hour after for those online. We'll talk with Reverend Thorne about everything we heard in the sermon and what we're all still thinking and feeling, and we can dive in even deeper. Great to have you watching, listening, and we will do this again next week. Jabe Zeno, Reverend Jabe Zeno, joining
Yeah,
us for the first Sunday in
that's right.
June. More Galatians next week.
Yeah.
See you then.